As I grew into myself, certain things just stopped feeling aligned for me, and eating meat was one of them. And when I didn't listen, my body made sure I did. And we'll get into that in just a second, but first, I'm Chani, and in today's video, I wanted to share with you guys why and how I went plant-based, the crazy signs and confirmations that were coming in around that, and what this lifestyle is really like for me. First, I want to say that my intent with this video is not at all to try to make anybody become a vegan, not tell anybody what to do, because I know that being plant-based, it is a deeply personal decision, and I'm just here to share my journey and my story for anybody who's curious. So it started with a call to curiosity by watching different plant-based content creators and feeling like I bet that I would feel so clean if I ate like that. But that initial curiosity was not enough for me to make such a shift. That shift really came one night when I was at the grocery store with my mom. We were trying to buy some eggs, and I just started trying to convince her to buy the cage-free eggs instead of the regular ones. Honestly, I don't know where the information I was talking about was coming from, but I kind of just started channeling and realizing what I was feeling as I was talking, and I was explaining to her how we are what we eat, right? We are what we consume, not just in a nutritional sense, but through music that we listen to, through the media that we consume. Everything has a frequency, whether that is high frequency of, of love, of joy, of peace, or if that's low frequency of pain, of shame, of all that, right? And I would rather eat eggs from chickens that were roaming around freely, happy, and lay these eggs with those good vibes than to eat eggs from animals that were trapped in cages, oppressed, not living such a happy life. Because what we consume, it has an effect on our energetic body. It has an effect on the way we feel. I've always been someone who's sensitive to energy, and I understand that everybody's spiritual journey is different. But for me, as I was tapping more into myself, I started seeing that certain energies, certain things in my life were just clearly not aligned for me anymore. And once I saw it, it just became so evident that I couldn't ignore it. And trust me, I tried to ignore it, but that's when things started getting real crazy. I've never been someone who's tried to wean off of things slowly. I've always been kind of a cold turkey kind of gal. When I have my mind set on something, I'm all in. I don't like to go halfway. I don't do that. So when I decided I want to go vegan, and there was more reasons too, which we'll get into, I was talking to my friends about it, I was talking to my mom about it, I was talking to my therapist about it, and they were all saying like, okay, eating meat, eating chicken every single day, to going to not even eating dairy and eggs, that's a lot. So what if you just try to take it slow? Try cutting out just red meat and dairy. And I was like, okay, fine. All right, I'll try cutting out red meat and dairy for now. Even though I knew like I didn't want to do that. I was like, all right, let me try to go slow, whatever. That night, right, my mom made some chicken, and I was eating the chicken. And for the first time in my life, like this never happened to me, as I was chewing, a tiny piece of a bone, like a tiny fragment or something of a little tiny chicken bone, it stabbed me right in the back of my throat. And I thought I was bleeding. I was like, what just happened? And I was so shocked. I was just so like, there's no way. It's like the chicken was literally yelling back at me, stop eating me. And that doesn't happen to everybody, but for me, it's just something that was showing me like, okay, this is not meant for me. This is just too weird. And so after that, I was vegan for about 2 weeks, or at least mostly vegan. I don't know if I had some ice cream or something, but I was mostly vegan for 2 weeks. And then I had a trip with my friend to Miami, and in my mind, in my soul, in my spirit, I knew I was already vegan, but I wanted to have one little last goodbye party to eating meat. So we went to a steakhouse. At the steakhouse, it was nice. It was a nice little vibe. They did have pictures of the cows on the walls, and I was like, okay. But I ordered myself a nice little veal steak, that baby cow. And it was my first time having that, but it was good, and I was really savoring it. First I thanked it. I was like, okay, I appreciate you, cow, thank you. Because, you can raise the frequency of everything on your plate, no matter where it comes from, no matter what it is. There's a reason that our ancestors, so many people before us have been blessing their food. It goes beyond worshiping a god or whatever, but it raises the frequency of the food. So something I started doing as I got into my woo-woo spiritual stuff is just thanking my food, showing appreciation for being like, love you, thank you, and that raises the frequency. But I was savoring it as my last steak in my life, and I had a great night, we had a good time, and the next morning, my tummy was feeling a little funny. Anyways, we proceeded about our day, and we were on the speedboat doing some activities, and that boat, that whole boat ride, I was just clenching everything, trying to keep it together. And I realized for the first time in my life, I had food poisoning. I never got food poisoning before. I usually got a stomach of steel, but my body was rejecting that steak, that meat. Maybe it was something else I ate, but it's like the coincidence of me getting that sick right after I had a steak, which I knew wasn't in alignment for me anymore. It was just too insane to ignore. And so that was the last time I ever ate meat, except for one time I didn't realize something had little pieces of meat in it and I had a bite and then I realized, but that doesn't really count because that wasn't my intention. So yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, that whole energetic spiritual part of it and the universe showing me wasn't aligned was definitely the main awakening. But my beliefs and my values really became more solidified the more I thought about it. You know, I started looking into the factory farming industry, just how that runs in America. And I don't have to say too much. If you want to watch something else about it, you can. I'm not here to give a documentary, but for me, I just like looking at it, seeing the way that animals are treated. I just felt like that is not something that I want to partake and participate in. That just didn't feel right for me. And you know, realizing what's really going on, I couldn't really look back. I mean, I could, but I didn't want to. I think that generally there's a huge cognitive dissonance around the way that we consume animal products. You know, like we see the chicken on our plate and the chicken on the farm as like separate entities, kind of. And I think that we've just become disconnected from the source of things. And it wasn't always like that. You know, but I'm not gonna front. I don't believe that we were meant to always necessarily be strict herbivores. Historically, people survived off of primarily plants, but they did eat meat on occasion. It was opportunity based when either there was an animal that was eaten by another predator and there was remains, and then when hunting developed, it was when they could hunt and they had here and there, but it wasn't meant to be like get 200 grams of protein, like eat 5 pounds of chicken a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot going on. McDonald's sells 6.5 million burgers a day, and that's just McDonald's. Like, it's so mass produced that I feel like even health wise the quality of it is declined. And I feel that what the animal product industry has become is so far from the way that nature intended for us to exist. So I feel that for me it's just something I really don't need to partake in. I decided a plant-based lifestyle is right for me. And I say plant-based, I might have said vegan before. I kind of use both terms sometimes, but honestly I'm not vegan. There is a difference. Vegans, I think it is more strictly about the ethics, and vegans don't use any animal products. I try not to use any animal products, like, you know, I bought fake Uggs on purpose, but I might have a leather wallet or some other shoes. And I honestly do eat duck eggs from my mom's ducks only. Those are the only eggs that I bake with because they are free roaming, they're living happily, they have a pretty decent life, they're chilling there, and if I didn't have the eggs, they'd kind of go to waste. Still, I don't eat them like every day, but that's just me. I feel like that doesn't go against my ethics. I feel like the energy of that is pretty pure, so I don't have such a problem with that. Again, plant-based, it's a little bit more flexible. You know, it's never all or nothing. Being plant-based, transitioning to that, it's never like there's only one way to do it. If you felt called to and if you wanted to, you can always start with just even adding just more plant-based meals to your diet, learning how to cook tofu. Some people, they cut out red meat, some people just cut out dairy, whatever. But at the end of the day, you gotta do what's sustainable for you, because when making any type of dietary shift in your life, when trying to build a lifestyle, it has to be sustainable, it has to feel good. Otherwise, it's not going to last and it's not going to work for you. For me, my lifestyle is sustainable and it's enjoyable because I listen to my body and I put the work in to learn what I need. I think a big mistake that a lot of people make, and the reason why we see so many ex-vegans who go back to eating meat, is that people don't do research. They don't take the time to learn how to really get the nutrients they need and how to live a sustainable plant-based life. If you're just eating lettuce and salads all the time, obviously you're gonna feel like shit, you're gonna be depleted, you're not gonna have what you need. So I do my research on how to give myself everything I need in my diet through, I eat a lot of legumes like lentils, chickpeas, beans, that stuff, different salads with that. I eat a lot of tofu, and people always ask me, like, do we get bored of tofu? It's a blank canvas. You could do so many things with it, like as much as you could do with chicken, I guess. Like, there's a lot you could do with it. So many flavor combos, but I get the grains I need, a fulfilling and satisfying vegetables and whole foods, and I get my protein bars and I take my vitamins. So my palate is satisfied, my body is satisfied, I'm not walking around feeling hungry. I honestly feel great. Since I've gone plant-based, I feel like my body has just felt so much cleaner. I haven't felt sluggish like I used to sometimes. I just feel so much more energized, so much more clear. My skin got more clear too when I went plant-based. And I just felt really good about what I was putting in my body. I feel like, honestly, it was part of healing my relationship with my body too, because I became very intentional in the way that I nourished myself, and cooking for myself with that intentionality, with that love. It was something very bonding for me with myself. And just that process of learning to listen to myself and to my values, But honestly, although I got pretty strong values, they haven't been completely rock solid. I haven't been perfect. I've slipped up. When I went vegan, I was working at an ice cream shop. Some long shifts, I got a little hungry, okay? I'm not gonna lie. And I had to do some taste testing. But every time afterwards, it never felt worth it. It was like, okay, that was tasty, but I didn't need that. Like, I never needed that. And I wasn't really beating myself up about it too much. I was like, okay, all right, it is what it is. How do you feel, Connie? And I didn't feel good. Like, I just wasn't disgusted or like ashamed, but it just felt misaligned. When you know that thing is not for you and you go back to it, and it's like, maybe it gave me some type of immediate gratification, but it just doesn't feel right. Every time I had that setback, it solidified my belief and that realization, like, yeah, like, it's not for me, it's not worth it. And I just returned to my body. I think that's so important, that we all listen to ourselves, listen to our bodies, listen to what really feels right, like, in our being, and what doesn't, to find what those values are for you. And again, I'm not saying that everybody has to be plant-based, but I do think that it is good to be conscious and be aware, and to check in with ourselves, maybe ask ourselves questions about what we do and how we do it, and just check in with your body and be open to listening if you feel called to make any shifts in your life in any type of way, dietary or beyond that. And this is a shift that I had to make, and I honestly feel great about it. But if this video resonated with you, I would love if you hit that like button, if you let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're on your own journey of tuning into yourself and becoming more aligned, I would love to have you here. And you can subscribe and let me know what alignment has looked like for you, and I'll see you in the next video.